Dealers won't tell you this, but some of the most hyped bikes of the past few years are showing up on Craigslist with less than 5,000 miles and a note that says, "Just not for me." We're talking sore backs, cooked thighs, and payments that sting harder than the seat after an hour on the slab. The proof's right here. Owner forums, NHTSA bulletins, and resale charts all show the same trend. Bikes that look perfect on day 1, but wear you down by month 12. Tonight, we're naming names. Real riders, real numbers, and 7 motorcycles many owners wish they'd never bought. Number 7, Kawasaki Eliminator. You can walk past a row of big chrome and keep moving, then stop at a slim black machine and think, that could be easy miles. The Eliminator sells that idea the moment you swing a leg over. The stance is friendly, the bars meet you without a stretch, and the package feels honest. For a rider who keeps a heavy tourer for interstate work, a small second bike seems like a sensible tool for errands, coffee runs, and evening loops. In the first few weeks, it does that job with a light clutch, a seat height that keeps both boots flat, and easy manners at neighborhood speed. Then the miles start to stack, and the limits show. The seat foam grows thin past the first hour, pressing tailbone and lower back where padding should live. The rear shock loses composure on patched county asphalt, turning frost heaves into sharp taps you feel in your spine. The front feels light at speed, which keeps direction changes quick, but it also lets seams and tar snakes speak louder than you expect. On wet mornings, the stock tires ask for patience, tram lining on paint and wandering on rain grooves until you settle your inputs. The fueling is clean at a steady pace. Yet the little twin grows busy when you ask it to hold higher speeds. Mirrors blur sooner than you would like, and your hands pick up a fine buzz that is harmless in traffic, yet wearing on long farm roads. The cluster is clear, but the fuel readout can wander from hope to panic and back again, which sends experienced riders to the habit that never lies, a reset trip meter and a range map built from real fills. None of these quirks ruin a short ride, but together they make the first year feel like you are always one upgrade away from contentment. For a seasoned rider, those numbers are not insults. They are a reminder to match the machine to the mission. The Eliminator shines as a town companion. It threads traffic, parks anywhere, and turns a 5-stop errand into a small pleasure. It helps a rebuilt knee with a low stance and an easy reach to the ground. It lets a rider keep miles off a cherished long hauler without feeling wasteful, but it is not a highway hammer. Open states tease it into a buzz that numbs fingers, and big rigs shove it around more than a heavier chassis would. Hold a brisk pace into a crosswind, and you spend attention you would rather save for the horizon. There are smart ways to live with it. Pick routes that favor 2-lane rhythm over multi-lane speed. Keep daily distance realistic and tire pressures honest. Swap the seat if your back demands it, and treat the trip meter as the truth teller it has always been. Respect the bike for what it is, a small companion for short days, and it will pay you back with low-stress rides and quick parking. Ask it to be something bigger, and year 1 turns into a lesson you did not need. That is the honest picture today. 45 horsepower, 451 cubic centimeters, 31 pound-feet of torque. The next bike on this list proves that piling on power does not fix weak comfort, and it shows how cost sneaks back through the service door when the honeymoon ends. If you've ridden one of these bikes or have a story about how your Harley stacked up, hit like and drop your thoughts below. Real rider opinions fuel this channel. Number 6, Triumph Rocket 3R. The first time you see the Rocket, it looks less like a motorcycle and more like a muscle car that lost its body panels. Long tank, wide tires, pipes like artillery barrels. It gives the same message a freight train does when you stand too close. You can almost feel the torque before you even hit the starter. For riders who grew up with twin cams, big blocks, and the promise that more cubes meant more pride, this machine calls your name. It is the kind of power that turns heads at every stoplight. The kind that makes younger riders step back and whisper about numbers they have never handled. Twist the throttle, and it answers with a deep, commanding growl. The first surge feels like gravity bending in your favor, raw, instant torque that grabs your chest. But once the thrill fades, control takes effort. The Rocket resists calm hands, feeling wide and stubborn at low speeds. In parking lots or traffic, Every small correction demands strength, reminding you that real power always charges its price in muscle and focus. Owners quickly learn that the Rocket is not built for casual miles. It is a statement piece that shines in short bursts and struggles in the quiet between them. The balance feels alive at 70, but uneasy at 17. Heat builds around the legs during summer rides, and the large triple-cylinder engine hums with the kind of vibration that creeps through the frame and settles into your shoulders. The seat feels more like a perch than a cushion, and every mile over 100 starts to feel like an arm wrestling match you did not plan on joining. Numbers like that belong in record books, not rush hour. The Rocket is magnificent in its purpose, but its purpose is not everyday riding. Its gearbox can feel stubborn under slow shifts, and false neutrals are a familiar complaint among owners. Maintenance is precise and expensive, and finding a certified hand to handle it can mean a long ride or a long wait. A small spill can become a major repair because the parts are specific, the labor demanding, and the service intervals unforgiving. That kind of reality turns the Rocket from a thrill into a chore faster than most expect. 165 horsepower, 1,458 cubic centimeters, 163 pound-feet of torque. Still, every rider who has thrown a leg over it will admit that the Rocket's first surge is unforgettable. It is the kind of experience that lives rent-free in your memory long after you sell it. But that is also why many do sell it. Too much engine, too little comfort, and too high a cost for something that is best enjoyed in short noses. The next motorcycle on this list shows that even when a brand chases sport-inspired muscle, refinement must come first if you want your back and your balance to last beyond the first year. Ride prepared, not persuaded. The helmets, gloves, boots, and tools I actually trust are linked in the description. No fluff, just gear that's earned its miles. Number 5. Indian FTR. Some motorcycles look like rebellion cast in steel, and the FTR carries that image with pride. It borrows its attitude from American flat-track racing, a sport where skill and bravery mattered more than electronics or lap times. The FTR looks fast, standing still. Short tail, wide bars, high pipes, and a posture that says it is ready to fight the wind. For riders who remember when performance meant feel, not features, the FTR delivers the promise of muscle and motion in a compact package. At first glance, it feels like the rebirth of raw American speed. Then the miles begin, and reality shows that even the toughest-looking machines can stumble when daily use takes over the dream. The throttle feels sharp and twitchy at low speeds, demanding careful control. Cold mornings require patience as it coughs before settling to idle. Heat builds under the seat, reminding you how much power sits near your legs. In town, it's lively, almost too eager. Out on the highway, the small fuel tank drains fast, forcing riders to plan routes around fuel stops instead of pure freedom on the open road. The FTR's handling earns respect on smooth pavement, but uneven roads tell another story. The suspension feels stiff, tuned for performance more than comfort. Small bumps chatter through the seat, and larger hits come through the bars. Over time, you learn to brace rather than glide. The riding position puts weight on the wrists, which might be fine for younger shoulders but can grow tiring for veterans used to upright comfort. The digital display looks crisp, but sometimes lags or freezes, a small annoyance that feels bigger when you paid for precision. Riders who have lived through decades of mechanical machines find it ironic that a modern screen can fail faster than a carb ever did. Those are impressive numbers for a street machine wearing the badge of American heritage. The engine's sound alone pulls memories from anyone who ever twisted the grip on an old performance twin. It has a pulse that feels alive, but it comes at the cost of civility. In hot weather, that pulse becomes heat soaking through jeans and boots. In traffic, the FTR's mirrors buzz until they blur. The chain drive adds character, but it also asks for attention, needing cleaning and adjustment far more often than a belt system. The first year of ownership often turns into a rhythm of small fixes, dash resets, throttle recalibrations, fuel range calculations, all manageable yet tiring. 120 horsepower, 1,203 cubic centimeters, 87 pound-feet of torque. When the ride is right, the FTR feels special. It carves corners, growls with authority, and reminds you why performance matters. But when comfort and consistency count, it falls short of its looks. For riders who built their reputation on miles, not minutes, that matters more than speed. The next motorcycle on this list proves that size and strength alone do not guarantee satisfaction when balance and comfort start to fade. Number 4. Indian Scout Bobber. Some motorcycles sell an image before they sell a ride, and the Scout Bobber does that better than most. One glance and you see attitude, low stance, chopped fenders, and thick tires that look ready to plant themselves in the asphalt. It is the kind of machine that brings back memories of garage builds and stripped-down cruisers that lived for Saturday nights and short blasts through town. For riders who grew up tuning carburetors and shaping their own pipes, it speaks the right language. The trouble is, once you take it beyond that first parking lot thrill, the truth comes through the handlebars. The riding position screams style, low seats, stretched pegs, and forward bars that look perfect downtown. But once the miles add up, comfort fades fast. Your wrists ache, your back stiffens, and every bump shoots straight through the seat into your spine. With barely 2 inches of rear travel, even smooth pavement feels rough. After hours in the saddle, the bike stops impressing and starts teaching humility, one jolt at a time. It is not that the Scout Bobber lacks heart. The engine sounds good, smooth but strong, with a pulse that feels honest to its lineage. Around town it has punch, pulling away from lights with authority, and reminding you that there is still joy in a simple V-twin. The problem is that joy fades when you run out of comfort. The seat padding is thin, and the minimal suspension cannot hide it. The short wheelbase makes the ride feel sharp but not forgiving, and rough pavement exposes how much design leaned toward looks instead of longevity. Those numbers would have sounded bold in the era of air-cooled legends, and they still earn respect today. The Scout Bobber has no shortage of power, only a shortage of tolerance. Heat builds along the right leg in slow traffic. The mirrors shake into blur above highway speed, and the small fuel tank forces you to stop long before your body is ready for a break. When it is fresh from the dealership, the noise and vibration feel like part of the charm. By the end of the first year, they start to feel like reminders that charm cannot replace engineering meant for distance. Maintenance is easy, but the resale story is not. Riders trade them early, not because they hate them, but because they realize the bike they love to look at is the same one they cannot stay on for more than 100 miles at a time. 100 horsepower, 1,133 cubic centimeters, 72 pound-feet of torque. The Scout Bobber remains a beautiful contradiction, aggressive, confident, and hard to exist, yet too punishing for anyone who values comfort as much as cool. It will always draw a crowd at the gas station, but it will not carry you far past it. The next motorcycle on this list proves that even when a machine offers endless strength, size, and power mean little when fatigue sets in before the first tank runs dry. Number 3. Sportster S. Every rider remembers the first time they heard a Harley engine that didn't sound quite like the rest. The Sportster is that motorcycle, an experiment in performance wrapped in familiar steel. It looks powerful, compact, and mean, a stripped-down mix of muscle and minimalism that feels like Harley trying to chase its own legend while rewriting the rulebook. For the first few miles, it works. You feel the torque, the sharp throttle, and the way the bike leaps forward with every twist of the wrists. It feels fast and rebellious, exactly what the name has always promised. But once the first year of ownership settles in, the experience changes. The Sportster doesn't age like a cruiser. It wears its miles differently, and not always in a way that seasoned riders appreciate. At highway pace, the Sportster feels alive yet restless. The once sleek seat turns punishing after an hour, and the short suspension hammers through rough roads. Wide tires grip firmly, but comfort disappears fast. Vibration climbs through the bars, mirrors blur, and every mile feels louder than the last. For riders raised on smooth big twins, this bike rides like a jittery apprentice still learning how to breathe on the open road. The digital display is crisp, modern, and filled with data. You can toggle through ride modes, check lean angles, and see more tech than any traditional Harley would dare include. Yet, that technology comes with baggage. Some owners report small electrical gremlins, warning lights that vanish and return, ride modes that glitch when switching on the move, and error codes that seem to appear out of nowhere. None of it feels catastrophic, but all of it feels foreign to riders who came up turning wrenches instead of tapping screens. The result is a bike that demands faith in software where older riders trusted steel and oil. Those figures place the Sportster among the strongest middleweights Harley has ever built. The Revolution Max engine delivers speed few expected from this badge, and the pull from idle to redline is impressive. But that performance comes at a price: heat, stiffness, and a personality that demands control at every moment. Around town it shines, darting through traffic and drawing looks at every stoplight. On long rides it turns demanding. The aggressive position, short travel, and constant vibration wear away the comfort that touring riders hold sacred. Maintenance is straightforward, but when problems do arise, parts and updates rely heavily on dealership visits rather than the home garage. That takes away one of the quiet joys many Harley owners still cherish: the satisfaction of doing the work themselves. 121 horsepower, 1,252 cubic centimeters, 93 pound-feet of torque. The Sportster delivers modern performance in a classic shape, but it struggles to respect the comfort that older riders expect from the badge. It is fast, fierce, and visually bold, but it asks you to trade endurance for energy. For many, that trade loses its charm long before the first year ends. The next motorcycle on this list reminds us that even big engines and timeless names can disappoint when the weight, cost, and complexity overpower the simple joy of the ride. If you're nodding along with these truths about what's really happening in the motorcycle world, hit subscribe. Stay tuned as we reveal the rides reshaping the open road. Number 2, Challenger. There was a time when the word Challenger meant more than a badge. It meant a test of power, endurance, and pride. On paper, this machine promised all three. It looked like the modern bagger perfected: sharp lines, a big fairing, and enough tech to tempt even the most loyal touring rider. The first impression is strong. The motor sounds healthy, the stance looks right, and the throttle feels eager. For a generation raised on air-cooled simplicity, this liquid-cooled heavyweight seems like the bridge between heritage and progress. It has the numbers, the size, and the spirit of competition built into its name. But once the first season passes, many owners realize that progress can come with a few unexpected trade-offs. The Challenger feels smooth and balanced, hiding its bulk with clever geometry. Steering is light, suspension confident, and highway travel steady. But after hours in the saddle, the seat aches, the stereo cuts out, and the touchscreen fights back. The menus impress until they confuse, forcing you to fiddle instead of ride. It is not unreliable, just demanding, asking riders to trade mechanical simplicity for patience in a digital age. For riders who have spent decades behind the bars of air-cooled machines, the engine's heat management is a welcome change, but its personality is different. The exhaust note sounds cleaner, sharper, but less soulful. The throttle-by-wire setup smooths out the surge that used to make a big twin feel alive. What remains is a machine that performs flawlessly, but feels slightly distant, like an athlete following orders instead of instinct. It moves with precision, not emotion. That's impressive in theory, but for riders who ride by feel, it can make the experience less personal. These numbers make the Challenger one of the most powerful American touring bikes in its class. The motor is strong, smooth, and efficient. The braking system, with dual front discs and an advanced anti-lock braking system, brings confidence when hauling this weight down from speed. The suspension's adjustability earns high marks, especially on long highway stretches. Yet the bike's complexity makes ownership feel more like managing a machine than bonding with one. Service intervals come quicker than expected, and replacement parts can carry a premium. Small glitches, radio resets, screen freezes, or electronic clutch feel tend to surface right around the time the warranty paperwork starts gathering dust. 122 horsepower, 1,768 cubic centimeters, 128 pound-feet of torque. For all its strength, the Challenger's first year can leave seasoned riders divided. Some admire its engineering, others miss the simplicity that built their loyalty. It is a bike that wants to be everything, a tourer, a performer, and a statement. But in trying to fill all roles, it forgets the one that matters most, being an effortless companion for long, honest miles. The next motorcycle on this list carries that same lesson forward, showing how a legendary name and iconic shape can still test even the most faithful rider's patience once the shine wears off. No. 1. Road Glide. Every rider remembers the first time they saw the Road Glide roll down the highway. That fixed shark-nose fairing, the long stance, the promise of wind-cutting comfort. It looked like the kind of bike you could take across the country and back without breaking a sweat. For years, it stood as the crown jewel of American touring, the bike that defined freedom, power, and presence. But lately, that reputation has begun to crack. Riders who spent decades loyal to the name are realizing that the modern Road Glide feels more like a machine designed in a boardroom than a bike built for the open road. The experience is still grand, but the soul feels thinner, buried beneath layers of weight, complexity, and a price tag that makes even veteran Harley owners pause. The first thing you notice is the scale. The Road Glide is heavy, over 900 pounds fully fueled, and once you lift it off the stand, that mass stays with you. At low speeds, the balance feels top-heavy, especially with a passenger or full saddlebags. Once moving, it steadies, but parking lot maneuvers test both patience and muscle. The wide fairing blocks the wind well but also catches side gusts, and riders in crosswinds can feel the push. The seat, designed for long hauls, is plush at first, but begins to compress over distance, especially for heavier riders. It's still a throne compared to most, but it's not the all-day cushion many remember from earlier generations. The electronics package, impressive on paper, adds its own frustrations. The infotainment system promises navigation, Bluetooth, and voice commands, but several riders report glitches, slow response times, and touchscreen freezes. The sound system is strong but lacks clarity above highway speed unless you're using upgraded speakers. For a motorcycle that commands over $30,000 out the door, those small inconveniences feel more like signs of corporate oversight than cutting-edge touring luxury. The fit and finish remain high, but the spirit that once made the bike feel alive now competes with the constant hum of software updates and warranty bulletins. Those numbers still earn respect, especially for a long-distance touring motorcycle. The Milwaukee 8-114 engine provides smooth, predictable pull and a distinct rumble that reminds you why people still swear by the V-twin layout. It handles interstates effortlessly and climbs grades with no complaint. But when the ride slows, city traffic, summer heat, or stop and go near the gas station, the temperature climbs fast. Heat management remains an issue, especially around the rear cylinder, and riders in southern states have called it uncomfortable during long idles. Add the hydraulic clutch, which some find heavy and inconsistent, and it becomes clear that the Road Glide's luxury comes at the cost of ease. Maintenance is manageable but rarely cheap, and depreciation hits hard once newer models appear with upgraded tech or refreshed styling. 93 horsepower, 1,868 cubic centimeters, 121 pound-feet of torque. Despite those issues, the Road Glide still turns heads. Its stance commands respect, its name carries heritage, and its sound, when idling just right, still stirs something deep in any rider who grew up on American steel. Yet that nostalgia is part of what makes the disappointment sting. The latest versions of this icon show how even the strongest legacy can start to bend under the weight of constant reinvention. Many riders who bought in expecting timeless comfort now find themselves wishing for the simpler, sturdier machines they left behind. The Road Glide remains a symbol of pride, but after 1 year of ownership, too many riders admit that the dream has dulled and that the open road feels just a little less free than it used to. That's the truth, brother. 7 bikes that promise the dream but can't hold it past the first year. Power's easy to sell, but comfort, resale, and honesty are what keep riders loyal. The next time a dealer says new and improved, remember what 1,000 real riders already learned the hard way. Proof beats promises. So what about you? Did one of these bikes let you down, or did you find a sleeper that still runs strong? Drop your story in the comments. What you share keeps this channel real. Ride safe, ride smart, and I'll see you in the next one.